We literally don't allow ourselves time to think. With the mere spare time that we have, we choose to doom scroll instead. I mean, at the end of the day, a brain that doesn't think is a brain that is easily controlled and manipulated. Hi, my loves. Welcome back to the Brain and Beauty Club. I'm Kelly, and on here we bring nuance back to womanhood. Today, we're going to be talking about how to be smart in a world where technology and AI are everywhere. We're going to unpack the lost art of interpretation and how we can become smart again. But before we get into it, I need you to hit the like and subscribe button so more people can join our conversation. Now that's out of the way, let's get into it. I think a lot of us have forgotten what intelligence actually is, so let's start today's conversation by defining it. According to Cambridge Dictionary, intelligence is the ability to learn, understand, and make judgments or have opinions that are based on reason. And reason, in this context, is defined as the ability of a healthy mind to think and make judgments, especially based on practical facts. So intelligence isn't just about what you know. It isn't about the fact that you can memorize the periodic table or that you can regurgitate the same political arguments that you've heard online, but more your ability to make sense of all the information and form a reasonable opinion on it. In other words, intelligence is interpretation. Interpretation is your ability to sit with the information, to question it, to relate back to your values and your experience and decide what you think, not just blindly consuming. I remember asking my English teacher in high school why we are forced to study these made up stories that were written over 100 years ago. Like, what's the point? It seemed so pointless to me at the time because they're all made up. And she said, is because even though they are fictional, they are still representations of what was happening in the world at that time. They still reflect human nature, social structures, moral dilemmas, and these are all lessons that we can still learn from to this day, because humans don't really change that much. I think this is why we're seeing classic literature trending again on social media, because we're all craving substance, especially when we have all been consuming shallow content this whole time. You know, people are now like, oh, I read Dostoevsky, I'm not basic, I don't read Colleen Hoover. Although I do think it's good that we're waking up to the fact we've been consuming so much brainless content, I do, however, think that this I only read deep books trend is more performative than actually going to make us smarter. Because like I said before, intelligence isn't just about knowing things, it's about forming your own opinions and your own understanding on it. It's an active process, not passive consumption. So no, reading Dostoevsky isn't magically going to make you smarter. And yes, there's probably less to take away from reading Colleen Hoover. But as long as we're engaged when we're reading, we're still training our brain to think. We can start by asking ourselves, do I like this character? Why or why not? What do I like or dislike about this book? What is the author actually trying to tell us here? The same goes for all the other content that we consume. I think the bigger problem here isn't that we don't read anymore, but we don't think anymore. We just mindlessly consume. And I was guilty of this too. My Instagram feed was full of influencers showing me the same outfits 100 times with the affiliated links and discount code. And before I knew it, I was buying all these things without even asking myself, hold on, do I actually like this, or do I just think I like it because I have seen it so many times? Same goes for podcasts and like self-help gurus. Years ago, I used to listen to them and took their advice like it was the universal truth. Take the wizard list, for example. So many people, especially young women, worship her because she speaks with such certainty and authority that they think she must be this untouchable goddess. But look what happened to her. She still got cheated on when she was pregnant with his child. And I'm not saying this to say that all her advice must then be invalid or that she's a terrible person with ill intention. In fact, I think that she genuinely wants to help her followers with her advice. But my point is that if you actually listen to her advice carefully rather than blindly consuming, maybe you'll realize that there are actually some things that you don't agree with, and there are some things that might not be the best or the healthiest advice. And I'm just using the wizard list as an example here. This applies to every influencer, every podcaster, every single person that you interact with in real life as well. While we're on the topic of influencers and podcasters, I want to make a segue into the use of scientific findings to build credibility and trust by a lot of these influencers. I'm definitely not against scientific studies, but I do want to raise the point that scientific findings are not the universal truth. They're not objectively proven. With one study that concludes one finding, there are usually another study that concludes a contradictory finding. I know this firsthand because I had to work with a lot of research paper when I was studying for my master's in engineering. I even had to write my own thesis, and let me tell you, the results are heavily based on the method that the researchers have decided to use, what they decided to measure and how to measure it, the kind of analysis and statistical tests that they decided to use on the raw data. So a scientific paper is more an argument based on data and systematic approach, but it is not the absolute truth. So next time you hear someone make a statement or an opinion and then back it up with a research paper, unless you know that this person is in academia or that you trust their judgment, or that you have actually read the paper yourself and you have decided that it is good quality evidence, a random influencer citing a random paper isn't going to make them more credible. I remember I used to be curious about life when I was younger. I used to question everything that I was taught in school. I pondered over the meaning of life. But somewhere along the way, I kind of just stopped caring and I started to live like a hollow human. I would go to work, go to the gym, hang out with my friends to discuss reality TV shows or celebrity drama, go on dates, go out for drinks, and of course, doom scroll. It wasn't until I got back into playing the piano that I felt like I was using my brain again. And it certainly wasn't until I quit my job that I started thinking properly again. All of this led me to the conclusion that we don't really think critically anymore because our lives are too full on. We fill our time with too many things. We equate productivity to meaning in life. We literally don't allow ourselves time to think. With the mere spare time that we have, we choose to doom scroll instead. I mean, at the end of the day, a brain that doesn't think is a brain that is easily controlled and manipulated. So what can we do to stop mindlessly consuming and start actively thinking again? We live in a world where productivity is a measure of our worth. Every single reading list on how to become smarter, I see books like The Atomic Habits. Be 1% better every day, habit stack, build systems to help you achieve your goals. Obviously, it's a good thing to optimize your time, your routine, and whatnot, but I think we might have gone a bit too far. We are so obsessed with optimizing our life, our time, so that we can hustle and grind more efficiently. But for what? Like, honestly, why are we so obsessed with waking up at 5 a.m. in the morning and then filling our day with endless tasks so that hopefully one day we will make it in life? Like, no, how about we just chill and we just exist and we allow ourselves time to do nothing so that we can appreciate the beauty in life? Start a useless hobby, a hobby that doesn't make you money, a hobby that isn't productive, a hobby that does nothing but consume your time and make you happy and feed your soul. Engage in art. You know, art isn't just some time wasting, money wasting thing that pretentious people do. It helps us understand and interpret the world. It helps us to look inwards and actually enriches our inner lives. For me, that's playing the piano. And I am so grateful that I had lessons when I was younger where my teacher didn't just teach me how to play, but he taught me to see it as beauty, to see it as a form of expression. For you, it might be to learn how to paint and draw, to read, to join a book club, to learn photography, or to host your friends and talk about how you want to live your life. Allow yourself free time to just be, to just exist, so that you can be curious about life again, like we all were when we were children. You don't need to optimize your life so much that you end up a hollow human. Anyway, that's all I have for you today. Remember, softness isn't about shrinking. You can be delicate in your presence and powerful in your mind. I will see you here next Wednesday. Bye.